Hey there, it's Lenny McGill with the GlockStore Performance and Custom Shop here in the beautiful Nashville studios. And today we're going to install the Gen 3, Gen 4 extended slide stop into a brand new gun. And I am using a brand new gun because I want to show you kind of how difficult it is sometimes on a brand new gun versus a gun that's been taken apart a bunch of different times. Because the first time you take apart a Glock, it's tight. The pins are tight and everything's tight. And there's a little special things sometimes you have to do. But once you do it several times, 4 or 5 times, the pins come out a lot easier. So that's why I'm using a brand new gun. So here it is. So here's what I'm going to do. There's no ammunition in the room, right? No ammunition in my vicinity that I can actually inadvertently load this gun. So I'm going to open the box. It's brand new, but I'm going to go ahead and verify the gun is in fact unloaded. So the way we do that is we drop the magazine. And this is a stock gun, by the way. I'm going to just show you real quick. And it has a stock magazine release button, which for the life of me, just doesn't work that great. So when I really get on top of it and drop this magazine out, boom. That's why we sell extended controls for everything. And we'll talk more about that in just a second. But let me go ahead and clear this gun. So I've dropped the magazine out. Magazine's unloaded. That's all good to see. Kind of push that off the side. Keeping my finger off the trigger, I'm going to go ahead and peek inside and make sure the gun is in fact unloaded and pull the trigger in a safe direction. Now, the gun's unloaded and there's no ammunition in the room, but I'm still going to be very cognizant of muzzle direction and trigger control, and you know, I'm going to be aware of the fact that, you know, I don't want to get into the habit of pointing the gun at people or things that I don't want to shoot because this is a bad habit. All right, so now we're going to install the slide stop, which is also known as the slide release. That's this button right here. Not to be confused with the slide lock, which is also known as the takedown lever. All right? We sell extended controls for both of these. I personally have said on many videos, slide stop, slide lock, slide stop. I mean, it's easy to confuse them. So for this video, I'm going to just go ahead with the nomenclature one more time. Slide stop, also known as a slide release, this button right here. Slide lock, also known as a takedown lever. Okay, again, we do sell extended controls for both, and they're available in different colors and all kinds of fun stuff to match up. We've got pin sets available. We also sell an extended magazine release button, and you'll see this one is just tiny. I mean, I don't know if that's a defect or what, but it wasn't very responsive to my thumb. Now, first thing we have to do is take the gun apart. So I will use the takedown lever, and I'm going to go ahead and show you how to take it apart. But let me just go back just 1 second. I was talking about the extended controls, and these are the standard controls. And people are going to ask, well, why do I want extended controls? What's the advantage? The advantage is that it's going to be easier to operate the gun with extended controls. And operation is everything. You want to be able to manipulate and control the functionality of the gun with extended controls. And so the slide stop, also known as slide release, is used in many different ways. It will lock back when you have an empty magazine. It'll lock back on that last round, all right? The other reason you would engage this is to load a magazine. So if it's locked back, you put a loaded magazine in, and then you use your thumb, you just kind of sweep down on it, and boom, it loads and everything. That's why you want to make sure your finger's off the trigger as you do so. One other way you'll use the slide stop is to lock the gun back to show that it is in fact unloaded. So if you drop the magazine, all right, check, make sure it's unloaded, boom, and you want to have the magazine, or excuse me, the slide in the lock back position, you position your thumb on top of the slide stop and pull the slide back and push up at the same time, like so. Now, you can see that the gun is unloaded from across the room. And this is a very safe way to manage a firearm when there's other people around. People say, hey, let me, you know, can I see that gun? Well, sure, you can lock it back and hand it to them, and they know it's unloaded. And then they pick it up, and they can see that it's unloaded. They can go ahead and drop the slide. They can go ahead and do what they want to do. When they hand it back to you, they come back around. And again, because it's not extended, I've got to kind of reposition my thumb a little bit and push up as I pull the slide back. Now, when the gun has the extended slide stop, I can do that very easily with my standard grip and just kind of swipe up with my thumb versus swiping down. And speaking of swiping down, with the extended version, it's a lot easier to engage. So that's why we'd have extended controls. The other extended control we're going to talk about is a slide lock, and I'm about to take the gun apart. It's a lot easier with the extended slide lock because you come over here with both fingers on either side. I've got a thumb and a middle finger on there or whatever, and I'm going to pull down on the slide lock, and I'm going to hold it down. And as I hold it down, I'm going to walk the slide off. It's a lot easier when the slide lock is extended. And we sell a ton of those because it is a lot easier. It's also a precision part that's actually machined versus stamped. Gives a little better accuracy over time. So, all right, so there's the lower, and what we're going to do is we're going to install the slide stop. And that's this guy right here. Notice the spring pressure. It wants to be down. It will come up when you push it up with your thumb and you lock it back in the notch of the slide right there. Okay, that little notch, I guess you can see that right there. So that's what catches the slide stop. The magazine has a follower, spring loaded. Okay, there's a spring in the body here, and there's a base plate, of course. The follower has a little step on it. It's very important to understand the relationship of all these pieces and parts, because oftentimes something's not working. You're going to say, well, is it the magazine? Is it the slide stop? Is it the way it was installed? And we'll talk about that as we get into the installation. So let me show you this. I'm going to put the magazine in, and it's going to intersect with the slide stop right there. Now, you can see how it pushes it up, it being the follower, pushes up the slide stop. Notice that the follower has a spring, and it is spring loaded, so I can kind of push it down. That's why it allows me to strip this down and strip a round off and load at that time. But there's a connection I want you to understand, because the magazine is supposed to intersect with the slide stop with that little ledge, and that's what enables it to lock back on the last round. A lot of people say, hey, my gun's not locking back on the last round. What's wrong? And there's a couple things that could be happening, but one of them is the follower itself. Is the follower get damaged? Did it not intersect with the ledge on the slide lock or slide stop? Excuse me. There, I did it. Okay, here's the package we sell. Boom. I'll get you a good close-up of that. We sell a ton of these. They're available in different colors. It's like I said, it's one of the most popular items because it makes a lot of sense to have. I'm going to show you why. Again, you got a pretty good picture of what it looks like right here as the factory as it comes from the gun. I don't know why they don't include these with every gun, because it just makes such a huge difference. The extended version has just a little bit more meat and a little bump on it that gives you something to actually manipulate. So there's the difference. You can see that little bump right there, and you see how it's extended a little bit more versus just that tab. We're going to install that into here. We're going to replace it, and that's our objective today. So all that said and done, I'm going to show you my Armorer's duct tape roll, because I'm going to put the gun on top of here. I'm going to drive these pins out. Old school gunsmiths always told me to take the pins out from the left to the right. I'm going to remove all 3 pins because I've got to, well, really I can do it with just 2 pins, but I'm going to remove all 3 pins because I want to take everything apart, and I'm going to kind of put it back together just so you see it, how we're going to install this piece. All right, so this is a brand new gun. That pin, let me point out the pins for you. There's 3 of them. Trigger pin, trigger housing pin, or locking block pin, excuse me. Trigger pin, locking block pin, and back here is the trigger housing pin. Trigger pin, locking block pin, trigger housing pin. This pin's going to be tight. I will tell you that it's captured onto the hole in the slide stop we're about to, the one that's in here we're going to install, and this spring pushes it down into a notch on the pin. So if you can kind of get that, what's going on here, there's a hole. The pin goes in the hole. There's a notch in that pin. The side, or the inside this circle, gets pressed down into that notch, and that's what captures it in there. So you have to release that pressure somewhat to be able to get this pin out. Sometimes they come out really easy. Like I said, if you do this a lot and you've taken your gun apart many, many times, it'll come out pretty darn easy. The trick to this, and this is really the trick, is to manipulate this as you push down, okay? The trigger pin is the only one that has the notches on it. The locking block pin is pretty smooth. So what I want to do is I want to get on top of this thing, and I want, as I manipulate it, I want to go ahead and push down on it. Sometimes it's easy, and I felt it catch there, and I know what, it's not going to come out too easy. I can tell that right now. So, and that's good because I wanted to show you that it's not easy the first time. And then, hence, here comes my hammer. Okay. Now, what we want to do is we have, this is almost a three-hand operation. One hand for the hammer, one hand for the punch, and another one to manipulate this. Now, when I say manipulate, I'm kind of trying to not only pull it up and down, but kind of back and forth a little bit. There's a little bit of play, a little bit. I can kind of feel it right there. And so even if I tried it here, I'm going to get a little bigger punch so I have a little bit more purchase on this thing. There you go, I actually got it. So I don't have to use a hammer. So not only did I come up, but I pulled back a little bit and it started coming out. There it is. So now I can just kind of walk the rest of the thing out. And the key with this little donut is it catches my pins. All right, now that pin is this punch is a little too big for the next one. This is a 3/32 inch punch, and that's what Glock recommends. And I can just get on top of this with a hammer, just tap this out. Just like that. It's kind of hard the first time. It won't come out with your hands, I don't think, unless you're super strong. Even back here, it's pretty tight, so see if I can get this thing to come out. Now, I want to be careful not to wallow out the hole at all, so I've got a little bit of room there. There we go. All right, here it comes. There's my locking block pin. There's my trigger pin. And you'll notice, if you will, the notches we kind of talked about. And if you notice what's happening here, it goes in like so. It's very tight. And then it locks in on that notch, and that spring pushes it down. So you can see the pressure, it kind of pushes it down and back. So the pressure by pushing it forward and up kind of releases it. And once I get it released, it comes off pretty easy. But it's got to be released from that notch. It's really important. And I've had guys pound on them and actually bend these things and say, what happened? I go, well, you know, you didn't watch the video. But it's a learning curve, trust me. You know, I mean, I kind of made it look a little easier than sometimes it is. Again, the key is to manipulate this little item. All right, so now here comes the factory one that was installed right here. It just comes straight out, okay? And now here comes the entire, let me take out the trigger housing pin too. Now the trigger housing pin is actually plastic. These other ones are steel. It's tiny right there. We sell a set in all steel that is colorized if you want to do different colors. So it kind of looks pretty cool. So, okay, this is a locking block. I'm going to take it out too. Might as well just take the whole thing apart. Come in here with a punch and just pry it straight up. Boom. You can see that's it. The hole for the trigger pin. That's the whole little half moon notch there for the locking block pin. This being the locking block. And then here comes the whole trigger assembly. So I'll just pull the whole thing straight out, just like that by the ejector. And here comes the trigger, okay? Now, I'm not gonna do anything with this trigger. I just wanna show you how it comes out. So when I go to put it back together, I'm gonna put it right back together. Just gonna drop it in like so, get it down, make sure it kind of clicks in place right there. So now it's good. I can look at my holes, look good. Okay, everything's good there. Now we're gonna go ahead and start to assemble this thing and actually drop our extended slide stop in. So the first thing will be the locking block, right? You put that in, it kind of just goes straight in there, and holes look good. Okay, you can line your holes up, everything looks good on the back side. Now at this point, I like to go ahead and lock in the actual trigger housing because I don't want it to move any bit as I'm manipulating everything else. So I'll just put my trigger housing pin in, and now I'm gonna use my hammer, and the other side is a little nylon head, and I can actually tap on it without damaging anything and make sure it's super flush and looks really good. So I'll just come in here with a punch and just kind of press it down a little bit more. Now it's equal on both sides. Now, really important here for Gen 3 and Gen 4 guns. Okay, not Gen 5. Gen 5 is a little different animal. Gen 3 and Gen 4 guns. You must install the locking block pin first. And there's a reason for that. You want to capture this spring underneath the locking block. If you put the slide stop in first and then the locking block pin, it'll end up like this. And you will not have the spring pressure you need. Hence, a lot of people will shoot and the vibration will push that up, push the slide stop up and lock back on one shot, even though the magazine's full. And they'll say, hey, my gun's locking back, what's wrong? And the wrong is that you don't have spring pressure on this and it's not going to hold itself down as you shoot because the vibration actually knocks it up. So you must install the locking block pin first. So I'm going to do that right now, get it kind of started there, get my hammer again with the nylon side. And you can see it's tight. Boom, 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 boom. I love that hammer. Okay, and now I'm going to just true it up again with my punch so it's equal on both sides. You kind of heard it like snap in place. That happens with the new guns. Older guns, they kind of, the plastic gets worn on a little bit. It doesn't snap quite like that. Okay, now, here is the part in question. This is our extended slide stop with the little nubby, and I'll show you how it looks. Inside, there's a slot. There's only one right next to the trigger bar. And this goes in, and you'll see how this spring is going to get captured underneath the locking block pin. And you'll also, when you look in here, you'll see, okay, sometimes it seats itself, sometimes it doesn't, and then you have to get it kind of set up to right where all the holes are lined up. And oftentimes, I will take a punch and go in there and kind of straighten everything up and get it in position. And once I have it in position, I'm going to hold it here with my thumb. See that? So I'm holding it in the spot. Now, the trigger bar also needs to be in the right spot too. So oftentimes, I'll go ahead and I'll true it up. And sometimes I want to make sure that trigger bar is where it's supposed to be. Okay, and now I'm going to take my trigger pin and kind of start it by hand. And this is where it is now intersecting with the slide stop. And looks like it's in there. And now I have the spring pressure I'm looking for. And I think what I'm going to try to do, and you may hear this, it's not quite in all the way. It's a little bit below flush, so we may not hear the click. But if I push the trigger pin in just a little bit with a punch, you may hear the actual spring and the hole click into the notch. All right? I heard it. I hope you did too. It did, and it was just a little bit more. Now, it will still work like that, but it's ideal to be in the notch. Notice the spring pressure. That's what you really want to look for. You can also, if you're really into it, and you can see here, I'm not sure if you'll be able to get in here with the camera. Let's see here. I'll go down here like that. Right, let's see, where is it? Right here is the head of that spring. Let me go this way. Yeah, like right there. Boom. And you'll just see a shiny little spark. And really what you're looking at is this piece right here. And that means it's captured underneath the locking block pin. And now it's good. And before I even put it back together, I'm going to put my magazine in. And okay, boom, boom. Yeah, it looks like it's working good. Okay, drop the magazine back out. Everything looks good. You'll see how this helps push the magazine down. All right, you get that? See that? When I push the magazine release button, oops, let me get out of the way there. See how that comes down? And it also, that spring pressure kind of pushes that magazine out. All right, so now we have an extended slide stop that looks like it's going to be a lot easier to manipulate. So I'm going to go ahead and put my upper back on. I'm going to line my frames up, or my rails up here. Put it on like so, and now go ahead and rack it to lock it. It's locked, right? Everything looks like it's working. Now, here is the extended version. Now, here's what I can do with this. Instead of having to readjust my grip, I can just sweep it up with my thumb, because now it's a lot easier. Boom. And of course, it's a little easier to do that as well. So all the competition shooters like an extended version because as they're running and gunning, they're reloading. They got to sometimes they go to slide lock and they got to push that slide down with a new magazine and they're ready to go. It's a lot faster, a lot more positive. It just feels better. I think it looks better too. But bottom line is, it's something that I think is one of our top 10 upgrades. If you have a Glock, this is one of the things you have to do. There it is, the extended slide stop. Like I said, available in a whole bunch of different colors. It's the low-cost, easy upgrade that you will be happy you did. And you can do it yourself just like that. And probably do it in a whole lot less time because I'm just talking all the way through. You can probably do it in 5-10 minutes at the max. So, I'm letting me go. This, of course, is the GlockStore Performance and Custom Shop. We have custom parts for all your Glocks. And we build custom guns and we install custom optics. And we do all kinds of fun stuff here in Nashville, in our Nashville facility. We ship nationwide. Invite you to come to Nashville, check out the store, check out the facility. We've got shooting range over there. This is fantastic. We've got individual shoot rooms, so it's really a unique environment. Thanks for watching. Invite you to subscribe, be part of it. We are cranking out videos every day, and we've got a growing audience, and I want to thank you for being part of it. I'll see you next time.